Hey everybody, welcome to Physics with Dr. T. Now, one of the big steps in science is looking at data and analyzing data, looking for trends in the data and using those information to help develop theories and better understanding of the science that you're taking a look at. Spreadsheets are a very versatile scientific tool. They allow you to organize data, to create graphs on the data, perform calculations on data so that you take raw data and become processed data that you may also do analysis on, and they allow you to be able to provide that data into other software such as a Word program or Google Docs. Make them easy to print, easy to share with others for information transfer. So in this series of videos, we're going to be walking you through some various activities you can do in what's called spreadsheet programs. These are programs such as Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, and there are some other spreadsheet programs that are less well known but are just as functional for analyzing data. So the point of these videos is to help you get familiar with and know how to use Excel to help support your experience in physics. So let's jump in. Used to be we'd have pages and pages of paper, but nowadays we have computers. Computers are a much more efficient and much more powerful way to analyze data and allow us to make significant insights into our experimental work in a much more efficient way. So let's dive in here into Excel. So here we are. This is Microsoft Excel. You can, if you're not comfortable with Excel for whatever reason, or you are just more comfortable working with Google Sheets or any other spreadsheet program, most of the stuff that we talk about in here is going to be transferable because these companies look over each other's shoulders and try and make their own version, but most of the stuff is pretty much the same. The rules are almost certainly going to be the same in most spreadsheets, so even if you're not going to work with Excel specifically, you'll work with something that does function very similarly. Another reason to learn about spreadsheets or Excel is that a lot of your experiments are going to be done using software that's on these computers here in the laboratory, but you don't have easy access to them outside of the lab. So you'll want to be able to move data from those programs into your own computer and laptop and be able to work with the data efficiently and conveniently to your schedule. Let's introduce Excel. Here's Excel. Your general layout is pretty straightforward. You've got your tabs up at the top for the different categories. You've got your main work ribbon, and each ribbon has its own subset of different materials that you can see, formulas, so we'll get into that later, don't worry about it right now. Data, this is things that you can do with data as a group. Review, there's probably not going to use that a lot here in Excel. It's a little bit more useful in something like Word or Docs, Google Docs, so don't worry too much about that. View, this is different ways that you can view the screen that you're looking at. And we're, again, not going to worry too much about this. We'll just go and stick with normal, leave it as is. You can zoom in if you want up here. Freezing frames, these are some extra tricks that as you become more proficient in Excel, and maybe when you go into your next level of study, you may find beneficial to use things like this, like freeze painting and stuff like that. But we're not going to dive that deep. I don't think it's terribly necessary here. So going back to the Home tab, so let's go over to the File tab, and then under the File tab, this is where you do saving and all that stuff like that. Home, New, Open, and then under Open, there's other things such as Info. There are files throughout the years, the programs update, and they'll make modifications. So once upon a time, Excel files were .xls. Now they're .xlsx, which is important to Excel and for you and me, which means there's a little box that comes up every once in a while when you're working with an older file that'll say, do you want to change to the compatibility or whatever. So don't worry about that. Save as. I would always recommend save as, especially when you're working with a new file, just to make sure that you save it proper. And then probably not going to use a whole lot more of these in the case. So let's hit arrow back. Okay, some basics about this the home ribbon. You've got clipboard, which you may use it or may not use it, but here's your font. controls here, the second tile here, which is it's got the font form, it's got the font size, you can conveniently upsize or downsize, and so on. You got some other editing options here. Let's not get too much in the weeds on that. All right. So you notice that along the top here we have columns that are labeled by alphabetics. You get A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't just stop at Z. It goes to AA, AB, AC, and you can imagine you can go all the way across your spreadsheet, all the way to ZZ or ZZ, depending on which part of the U.S.-Canadian border you come from. So we refer to those as columns, and then over there on the left side you can see 1, 2, 3. These are all rows. So we have columns and rows, and you see right here in the very top name, in this name box, you have A1. Our highlighted cell is A1. If I move this to a different location, you'll see that it's at now cell F7. So each cell has a coordinate in the Excel spreadsheet. For content, you can just type into that cell. You use different numbers. You can just type values into there, and it'll it'll accept it. You can go up to a space that you want. You go up here to what's called the formula bar. Tap here, and you can type in there, "My name is Dr. T," and hit enter. You see that it enters into the space pretty nicely. So let's see here. You can just delete data from these cells just by going to that cell and hitting the delete button. There are two types of values that can be entered into here. One is numbers, and so that would be like 1, 1, 2, 3, or decimal places 5.5, and so on and so forth. 5,280 if you like the mile. The other type is called string, which just basically means it's not a number. As far as Excel is concerned, it's either a number or it's not. If it's not a number, it can create some challenges if you're not careful when you're doing formulas later on, but just be aware that there's numbers and there's non-numbers, which are called strings. That would be like, ball, meters, and so forth. So, a couple other minor details just to kind of finish rounding out this walkthrough here is that down at the bottom you see this is referred to as sheet 1. So each of these is referred to as a worksheet, and if you hit the plus button you can just add more as you go. You can change the name. If you double click on this, will be Dr. T work. And then on the other one, you can right click on it. You can double click on it. You can right click and go to rename. And in this case, say student stuff, and make changes as you need to. So you can add and remove worksheets as necessary as you do your work. When you get to various point now, one thing that's nice about Excel is that it's got an autosave setting, so it'll automatically save every 5 to 10 minutes or something like that, so that if there's some kind of catastrophic crash of the software or your device, that the data has been updated with the most recent information within the last, again, like 5-10 minutes. It's still a good idea once you do certain processes to go ahead and click save. Go up to the top and just hit click save. And again, I haven't saved this yet, so I'm going to save as. We're going to go into, so I'm going to hit browse so I can find the place I want it to go to, and then I'll just go to, in my case I'm just going to go to this PC, save it here, but you want to go to a file pathway that's convenient for your purposes. Everybody knows how to save files and so forth, so let's just intro to Excel. And that's Excel. Again, if you don't want to work with Excel, if you want to work with another software program, just go ahead and go to that software program and just go to that software program. You should see similar stuff. They kind of try and get fancy in their way and do it slightly different, but most everything is pretty consistent in this way. Okay, great. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful to you to at least introduce you to the layout of Excel. In the next video, we're going to talk about making tables. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a bad cut. That was wrong. What was I going to say? welcome to Physics with Dr. T. I really should think about these things before I start. Okay, what do I want to say?